All my life, I've wanted my own arcade machine. My whole life. The first words I spoke on this planet was insert coin. For like at least the last 10 years, my lifelong dream was to get an arcade machine. I've always wanted one, I've always loved them, and I kind of never thought I would ever get one. That's the reality of it. I was kind of like, I've got 3 kids, I've got a mortgage, I can't afford to buy a video game. And I'd been looking for a couple of years online, like, you know, just checking through like Facebook Marketplace and looking over different websites and finding local places that were making, selling, or refurbishing. So originally, I really wanted to get an arcade machine that was a real old arcade machine. I wanted to get something from like the 70s or the 80s. All of the guts of it would be new, so I could play like thousands of games on it. That was my dream. And I was looking online, and then I saw this Simpson arcade machine pop up. And when I was a kid, I used to play this all the time at our local caravan park at Phillip Island. They had the Simpson arcade machine, the 4-player, brand new, made brand new, to look brand new, based off the original design from the 90s. And it was beautiful. It had 4,000 games on it. And I thought to myself, that's the machine I want. Now, I know a lot of people out there are buying these one-up arcade machines, these sort of smaller, sort of, you know, maybe a little bit more flimsy sort of machines made to look like the original arcade. I wanted something chunky, I wanted something beastie, I wanted something solid, I wanted something, you know. So when I saw this, I was like, I think I want to get this one. This one looks fantastic. The price was really good. It's brand new, came with a year warranty, free delivery, 4,000 games. How could you go wrong? So I drove out to a place called Hallam in Victoria, sort of near where I live, and I looked at it, and it was everything I'd hoped for. It was just fantastic. It was glistening. The blues on the side were so neutral and welcoming, and the artwork was so crystal clear. And so I said to my wife, I said, I want to get an arcade machine. I'm putting my foot down. I want to get this arcade machine. And she looked at me and she said, I don't care. She genuinely does not care about this. So she was fine with it. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I should get it. It took me about 48 hours to actually talk myself into buying it, because the pain of letting go of that much money in one hit was a bit too raw for me at first. And so I thought, I'll leave it for a bit. I'll wait till maybe I get some more jobs or whatever. That didn't really happen, but that was fun. I thought, if I don't buy it now, I'm probably going to miss out on it. And I later found out that if I hadn't have bought it, it was the last one they had in stock, and I would have had to wait maybe 3 to 4 months to actually get one. So I got very lucky with the timing. Now, the price of this machine was cheaper than anywhere else selling them in Victoria or in Australia, almost half price. For something like this, and so I got super lucky. 4 players, all the kids, I've got 3 kids at home, they can all play it at once and I can play with them. And since I've got it, I've just been going nuts. I've been playing games like every night. And I kind of thought at first, maybe I wouldn't play games. Maybe I would just sort of play for a little bit, leave it. I've been playing non-stop. So on the main menu of the system, there are, I think, like 5 or 6 different menus to choose from, and you've got, to begin with, your main games, which are actually the Mame games, M-A-M-E, which are the sort of, I guess, original arcade games you could see in arcade shops. Like in Australia, we had a place called Time Zone and Tons of Fun, and so these were a lot of these Mame games would pop up, and you could get them on Nintendo and Sega sort of later on, but they were never quite the same as the original arcade experience. And also on there's all the Atari different versions, this Intellivision, the Sega Mega Drive, and Super Nintendo. It's a 32-inch screen. It's got fantastic sound. You can change the treble and the bass on the inside. It has a 2-coin slot machine, a working sort of, arcade coin machine at the front. I've discovered games I didn't know existed, based on a lot of movie games, because I'm a movie sort of person, so it was kind of cool to find some of my favorite movies like Aliens and T2. There's like heaps of games made from these films franchises. There's like Back to the Future games, there's also just everything you could think of. Since having this machine, I have discovered that there are thousands and thousands of games that I've never heard of. Some of the ones that have stood out to me, and one that I just discovered by chance just by looking through everything that's on there, was this game called 8-Man. I've never even heard of it in my life, and it's really fun. It's like super fun. It's kind of this side-scrolling sort of almost similar sort of graphics to, I guess, Street Fighter, and you're just scrolling and you're just punching people and kicking people and shooting people. And there's only 4 stages in this game, so I've already clocked it, which is fun. And it's one of those games where I guess you sort of realize that the only way to clock a lot of these old arcade games was just to keep putting coins in. It wasn't really about skill. A lot of the much earlier games actually were about skill, things like Pac-Man, things like Frogger, but these sort of like late 80s, sort of really early 90s games were just, you keep putting coins in, you will eventually clock it. And we discovered that with the Simpsons game. We sort of played and played and played. I think it was like 8 stages to get through. Took us about an hour, and by the end, I would have actually probably have spent maybe $40 in coins to the amount of times that we died and had to sort of, you know, restart. So NBA Jam, I'd always seen at arcades. When I was a kid, I used to always see it there. I played it maybe once or twice. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I remember seeing the machine kind of everywhere. A lot of kids were always playing it. I knew you had to sort of obviously run and grab the ball, but I'd always lose my character on the screen. I've got to play that a little bit recently, and I've sort of found a new appreciation for it. It is actually kind of fun. I remember the graphics were kind of groundbreaking when they first came out. These sort of real life faces in the animations. Mario is on there. I didn't even realize that Mario would be on there, but Mario Brothers, the original and the one that you know from Super Nintendo and Nintendo. So probably the most fun I've had with any of the games so far has been the Terminator 2 game, which I think may have been with a gun originally when it came out. I'm not too sure about that, but it seems like a game that would have been pointing a gun at the screen. It's very, very easy to play with the joystick, and it's just arcade shooting fun. Constant robots trying to attack you. You just gotta sort of shoot, aim. And I've played it heaps. I haven't clocked it yet, because it does take a while to get to the end, and that's the interesting thing about playing these arcade games, is you can't save them when you're playing, so you have to just play for as long as you can, and if you want to give up, you just either pause it, turn it off, and have to start again. So another game that I played when I was a kid a lot was Echo the Dolphin. I don't know if anyone remembers Echo the Dolphin, but I used to play this game heaps when I was a kid. I found it really soothing and just kind of fun, almost in the same way that Tony Hawk Pro Skater was fun, where you just sort of the experience of just playing it is fun without having to do too much. Echo was kind of like that for me. I was just a dolphin. You got to be a dolphin. You're like an angel of the ocean. Now, a game that I didn't even actually know existed, I'm sure a lot of people do know existed, was X-Men vs Street Fighter. I actually had no idea this game existed. I knew of all the Street Fighter games, like Street Fighter 2 and all the different versions of that, World Championships. I had no idea there was an X-Men crossover, and it is fun. It is heaps of fun. It's actually pretty hard. I haven't actually passed the first guy yet. But yeah, being Wolverine and Cyclops is freaking awesome. Now, a game that I'd seen a lot as a kid was Metal Slug, and I might have played it maybe once or twice. The original Metal Slug I remember seeing. And there's all the Metal Slugs are on here, so my plan is to try to go through them one by one and clock them. And the graphics are kind of cool. Like there's so much stuff going on the screen. There's so many explosions and bullets, and he pulls out a knife and he starts, you know, stabbing people in the game. It's kind of intense. That's kind of cool. Another game I did stumble upon was Street Fighter the movie game. So obviously you got the original game, then the movie got made, then a game got made about the movie. And it's weird because the graphics are very much like Mortal Kombat, which I always kind of thought Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat were kind of like enemies to some degree. If you're a kid, you're either Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. That's what I feel like. I do remember playing the 4-player Ninja Turtle game as a kid a lot, and I always thought it was great fun. You could choose your characters with these little buttons at the top. I've since discovered that the second Ninja Turtle game was actually a lot better than the original Ninja Turtle game. I think it's called Turtles in Time, the second one. And the graphics are much better, it's much more easy to play, and it's just better. So I've learned that since I've got the arcade, that there was a much better version of Ninja Turtles. Gallagher. Now Galaga always kind of felt like Space Invaders on steroids. It's a very, very similar game, and there are literally thousands of these sort of space shooting games that exist, and Galaga for some reason made it to the top, in my opinion. This game would always be around at different arcade places and drive-ins you'd see around Australia, and it's a really sort of quick game. You get straight into it. Apparently there's about 230 stages to get through. I've only made it to about 20 in my entire life. I hope to make it a bit further. The sounds are fantastic on this game. Like, the sounds really kind of hypnotize you in. And it's just very, very basic. You know, there's no backstory to this game. There's no characters. It's just you're a spaceship and you're shooting the bad guys. And that's one of my favorites of all time. Another game I've come across is Batman. I didn't know there was a Batman arcade game. The graphics are really kind of cool, really dark and gringy and gritty and bluish. And the music from the movies in there, which is really cool. And it's just good fun. It's just cool fun. I didn't really know it existed. I guess my worldview of the arcade games has been very small, and now I've obviously learned a lot more about them. So another game I played heaps when I was a kid was Bobble. Bubble Bubble? Bibble Bobble. Bobble Bubble. Bubble Bobble or Bubble Bubble? I used to call it Bubble Bubble. I think it's actually Bobble Bubble or Bobble Bobble. This game is fun as. You're like this little tiny dragon, and you're in these rooms with different sort of levels, and you can jump between each level very easily. And if you fall down the bottom, you just sort of come back out the top again. And you've got to shoot bubbles at these like little gremlin creatures, and then you've got to pop them. And when you pop them, they become fruit, and you can eat the fruit. And it's super addictive. And I used to play this heaps when I was a kid on my friend's computer, and I haven't touched it since, but I've totally fallen in love with this game again. So that's Bobble Bubble, or Bubbles. So the original Pac-Man game, I've never really had much love for. It's a super classic game that everyone loves. You're like this little sort of creature, and you got to run around as Pac-Man and eat the bad guys, and it's kind of in this little sort of maze, you know, collect these little coins or something. Never been a fan of it. And even playing it again recently, I haven't found any sort of new appreciation for it, unfortunately. So it's there on the machine, but it just hasn't been my thing. So when I was a kid, we used to go on holidays, this place called Phillip Island, and they used to have this caravan park we'd stay at, and they had a games room. And in the games room was heaven. There were car racing games, there was a Simpson 4-player arcade, there was a Ninja Turtle 4-player arcade, and there was this other machine called Track and Field. And Track and Field was a very simple game. You're in the Olympics, and you have to either run or jump or do the Olympic things that they do. And the way to play was to push the buttons as fast as you could. And it's fun. It's lots of fun. The only problem is once you get to the second, third, and fourth level, you've got to push other buttons. It doesn't tell you what to push, and you have to sort of just know what to push. So that's a bit of a struggle because I have no idea what to push. So I'm always just running and jumping and just not making the jumps. But it's fun. It's a classic. It's a classic game. I've been playing Captain America with my son, my middle child. He loves Captain America and Iron Man, so we've been playing that a fair bit, which has been great. Now, I also remember playing this Michael Jackson game called Moonwalker on Sega at a friend's house, because when I was a kid, we never had Sega. We only had Nintendo and Super Nintendo. We were a Nintendo family. Mario was kind of like my jam, I guess. And then the Flintstones took over my life for a couple of years. But I remember seeing this Moonwalker game, and I was like, there's a game you can be Michael Jackson. It's kind of cool. It's kind of weird. You got to save kids in it. You're walking through these hallways, you have to save kids. Which makes sense, I guess. Action-packed machine. I highly recommend, if you're ever thinking about getting one, just get one. Go for the bigger machines, go for the chunkier boys. Very happy customer. Highly recommend, if you're ever thinking about getting an arcade machine, just get it. Because to be honest, we're all gonna die. And do you want to spend, you know, your last couple of months, weeks, days, hours without full-blown arcade action? Huh. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Then unsubscribe, get a VPN, and subscribe again.